For anyone who is not completely familiar with me, my name is Dan Collins. I've told every group that I am better known as Amanda Collins' husband. And I am happy and honored to say that I'm beginning my term this year as lay leader of our congregation. I was happy to accept that nomination, and I certainly do have big shoes to fill, and that my good brother Kurt Kelly was our previous lay leader. But we all know, I think for the most part, that our church has a very specific structure. Lay leader is one of the roles. The committees and teams, which we'll talk about to some extent in a few minutes, have defined roles. And I have a great deal of respect for that structure, for that formality, and for the responsibilities of my role, not only for my immediate predecessor, but I know that in our church family, in the generations and generations of our church family, a lot of good work has been done by people in this role that I'm serving. I want to make sure and not let them down. I want to make sure and not disappoint them or dishonor their good work. It's that same idea that the folks on the Spirit, on the REACH campaign committee have subscribed to. And we realize that there have been many other capital stewardship programs in the history of our church family for small projects and big projects. And we want to make sure that our efforts, while the task may not be as large, as looming as some of those projects were, we want to make sure that we honor those that came before us. And we want to pay respect to them in a few ways. As we prepared for this campaign and for these REACH presentations, Wendy did quite a bit of research, and we looked at things from the archives. Among them, there's this. This is the front cover of a brochure from 1950, when a committee with the same interests as ours had a campaign to build a new sanctuary. Now, I don't know if you can read that from all the places you're sitting, but at the very top it says that our church may meet the needs of our community. And that rings a bell, because in the short dozen plus years that my family and I have been here, that certainly is a theme that we've heard and that we've become involved in our activities in this church. We still say the same thing. The needs are not just of our family, of our church family, or needs of us as individuals. The needs that we're fulfilling or trying to fulfill are those of the whole community. Also, on the cover of this brochure, it outlined the program of building, beautifying, and modernizing. That still applies as well. And at the bottom, we think this is pretty nice. It sounds like the 50s. We're building today for the world of tomorrow. Don't we always want to keep looking forward to tomorrow and preparing for not just our needs today, but also equipping ourselves and building our resources for tomorrow? This is the plaque out front. Our sanctuary, that capital stewardship campaign, well, that was a success. And they got to open the sanctuary on Easter Day in 1952. That was a huge feat. Now, what you may know or may not know, I hope to clarify a few facts for you tonight. The feat that we're facing as a church family is a pretty large feat now also. But by virtue of the fact that they've proven how much our church family can do, we can certainly do what's before us now. Speaking of our church family, there are some of them on that opening day, Easter Day in 1952. Now, in some of the groups that have come to the gathering, there have been family members here among us. Family members that are in that picture or recognize people in that picture. And that's good. It's nice to be reminded of those connections. It's important to know that what they celebrated, the accomplishment that they celebrated then, is the same kind of thing. Again, the scale may be somewhat different, but the times are changing. We're a little jaded these days. It's still a huge accomplishment, and we want to join them as some of the successful people who have done so much to grow not only God's kingdom, but our own facilities in this church. And here's a picture of opening day when they celebrated over 1,000 people worshiping on Easter Day in 1952. Speaking of the structure of our committee and this effort in the REACH Capital Stewardship Program, among the most important people involved in guiding us and doing it gracefully has been Wendy Schneider. She has been a positive force and continues to be a calming force, and I'm sure she'll calm me as we listen to her share this information with you.
Thank you. Dan has told every crowd he's right that he is better known as Amanda's husband, and I've told every crowd that I am best known as Alyssa's mom. She's for those of you that don't know, she's the piano player, the little 14-year-old piano player at the 9:45 service. So her and my husband and my son have attended this church for the last 7 years or so, and we just love it here, and I am just humbled and honored to be the program director of this campaign. I'm part of this church. So many of you may have seen on Sunday the video that was played. And in that video, I talked about God having his fingerprints all over this campaign. So I'd like to share a little story about just one of those situations that we saw. So there was a lot of discussion when we first decided that we were going to start this program. Pastor Jason and I sat down in his office and got the calendar out and looked through it and tried to determine a date to start this program. And it was difficult because it was really busy around here. So we decided let's get started. Let's just get started right away, and we did that. And once we committed to that date and we moved forward and the time got closer to start the program, we noticed that the timing wasn't really perfect. We noticed that both in the church life and in our personal lives, the program was falling over some pretty important dates, both personally and in the church. It fell over things like spring break, Palms in the Park, the cantata, Youth Sunday, and Easter. So I knew that the staff and the committee members were going to be really busy during that time, and that was going to be hard to pull off. But we went ahead and we picked that start date, and we went with it, knowing that it wasn't the perfect time, but we would go with it anyway, and that we probably wouldn't find a perfect time. So the program will come to a close on Easter Sunday. After a lot of prayer and consideration, we'll turn in our commitment cards on Cantata Sunday, but on Easter Sunday, we'll announce the results. And I have to say that when we were going over those dates, I was a little concerned, because what I didn't want to do was combine Jesus' resurrection with a bunch of talk about money. It concerned me. But then as Dan and I were developing these meetings that we've had over the last few days, I spent some time, like he said, up in the archives room and just really connected with the people that went before us and did this before us. And here's what I found. On Good Friday, the pews to the sanctuary were delivered. All $4,400 of them, total. I doubt we could get a pew today for $4,400. but we got all the pews for $4,400. They delivered those late on Good Friday, and on Saturday they spent the whole day installing them. They installed the last pew at 11:30 p.m. Saturday night, 30 minutes before Easter. They spent the early morning of Easter sweeping, dusting, mopping, throwing away the trash, getting it ready for Sunday service. It was the first time in the history of the church that they didn't have to turn away members due to lack of seating. There were over 1,100 people that attended worship service that day. So needless to say, after reading that event happening on Easter almost 52 years ago, I said, okay, timing was perfect. It's God's timing. So with that being said, I'd like to get into a little bit of the nuts and bolts of this program. What I'm about to say may bore some of you because I'm going to talk about a little bit how the church is structured and how decisions are made. For those of you that know these things, please excuse me. I'm sorry if it bores you, but I think it's important for those people that don't know how decisions are made to fully understand. Because what I really want is everyone who attends these meetings, I want them to walk away having all of their questions answered. And if we haven't answered the questions, I want to make sure they know the proper person to go to get their questions answered. So first we're going to talk a little bit about the trustees. What I did was I pulled this language out of the Book of Discipline. These are just very few select roles and responsibilities that they have. This is not everything, but some of these are applicable to this program, so I pulled them out. So what the trustees do is they review the adequacy of the property. They conduct accessibility audits of the buildings and the grounds. They identify physical, architectural, and communication barriers that exist and impede the full participation of people with disabilities and just people in general. They determine priorities of elimination of those barriers. And they request and they receive quotes from contractors. So they're the people that will be getting the quotes and working with the contractors. Those are the trustees. Our trustees graciously volunteer their time, and these are the 2014 trustees who've graciously volunteered. And I'm hoping that you will see someone's name you know on that list. Then we have the Finance Committee. The Finance Committee are members of this church who are nominated and graciously serve to protect the church's financial interests. They review and approve financial requests that are included in the budget. They carry out the church's administrative council's decisions in guiding the financial direction. So the Finance Committee just really takes care of the money and guides us and protects us. And here are the names of the Finance Committee members for 2014. So then we have the Administrative Council. The Administrative Council are led by committees and team leaders. So there's the committees and there are the teams. The Administrative Council, they basically envision, they plan, implement, and evaluate the missions and the ministry of the church. So that takes us to the Capital Stewardship Committee, or REACH as we now call it, Renovating the Environment Around Christ's Home. When I was first asked to be the program director of REACH, I have to admit that I was a little nervous. There were a few things that I didn't want. I didn't want this program to be about give us money, give us money, give us money, give us money. I didn't want to wear out the members with that, and I didn't want to wear out the visitors with that. I also didn't want our church to be divided over this. I wanted us to go in unison in this program and work together. My goal was, after all the money was raised and the dust was settled, that we would be a united church. It was really important to me. So it was then that Pastor Jason introduced me to a man named Ed with Texas Methodist Foundation. And he put all my fears to rest. He assured me that there would be 3 distinct goals of the capital improvement program. It would be a spiritual goal, there would certainly be a financial goal, but there's a ministry goal. So our spiritual goal is that we really want to guide the membership of the church to pray about God's continuing will for their faith and life and participation in the church's ministry. The prayer calendar that you guys received with your packets, I hope you all got one, but they stand up and they just help spur you with a little bit of thought about praying throughout the campaign. Now, the great thing about them is this program is not just about reach, it's about building up your prayer life as well. So those can be used after this campaign is over, and it's just a great tool to help you in your prayer life. We have specific prayers in there about specific missions or ministries in our church. So in there it reminds you to pray for example, the Rwanda mission, or Stephen Ministry, or Upwards, or Family Promise, all those things that we love around our church. And then there are just some basic ones in there as well, general ones. Of course, we do have a financial goal. Our goal is to raise the capital needed to renovate and repair the church, and to do that cooperatively and as a unit. There's no doubt about it, it takes money to renovate and repair. One of our goals is to raise almost $1 million. So there is that financial aspect of this program. But most importantly, there's a ministry goal to this program. These projects, even as simple as resurfacing the parking lot and putting in speed bumps or the HVAC, those things all help us reach a very important goal, which is making disciples of Jesus Christ. And that's our primary mission of the church. So these 3 goals are really important. Recently, a man told me that when he walked into the sanctuary for the first time as a visitor, that he walked in and he looked around and he said, yeah, I can see me walking my daughter down the aisle of this church. I can see her standing up there at the altar and getting married here. And while it might have been the aesthetics of this church that brought him here and his family, it was the members of this church embracing him. He became a leader in this church. Him and his family participate fully in missions and the ministry here. And he's even in training to become a Stephen minister. So the aesthetics might have brought him in, but our goal really is to bring disciples to this church, and that's exactly what it did. So, who are the members of REACH? We have many people helping us to reach these 3 main goals. Pastor Jason and Pastor Missy have just been an integral part of it. Pastor Jason is leading us with lots of humor and has been very fun to work with, but we get a whole lot done, and he just leads us beautifully, and he did a great job in picking Texas Methodist Foundation to help lead us, and especially me, because I would not have known where to begin without them. So they were really helpful, and he was. There's me, the program director. Jana is our administrative person, and she's the one that has coordinated putting together those packets and just keeping us all on the calendar and just really keeping track of everyone and everything. And I don't have to tell you about what Amber brings to this church. Amber will take a rough copy of something that I've given her and turn it into a work of art. One day I gave her something that I was really proud of and thought she wouldn't change a thing, and just posted as it was, and I got it back and I was ashamed at the way I sent it to her, because it was amazing the way it came back. So we appreciate her for all she's done. She came up with the logo and everything on her own. She's amazing. We have Mickey Lloyd. He's the prayer coordinator. You'll be hearing a lot more from Mickey as we move forward with this program. But he was the one who created pretty much the prayer calendar that you have there. He's also coordinating some events where we will do a lot of praying, like a prayer vigil. You'll hear about that later, and you'll hear more from Mickey. We have Angelica and Kathy back there that have graciously put on wonderful, beautiful food for the last 4 times we've done this. And I think I've gained 5 or 10 pounds since we've started that. We have Dan, who's just been a pleasure to work with and has worked so hard with these gatherings, and just been he says I was a calming force, but he's been the calming force throughout all this, and has just done a great job, and you will see he does a great job at explaining all the facts and the figures. That's coming up soon. We have Kathy DeBurgess on the team. She's a part of the trustees, and she's the building committee chairman. She's done a great job at walking people through. She's kind of the one right now that's in charge of getting the quotes and talking to the contractors and doing all that. She's the one that's in here on Sunday mornings snipping the carpet fibers, the runners that are coming up, to make sure nobody trips on them and falls. She does all these things around here that we don't know about behind the scenes to keep us safe. We have Bridget, who last week took the Reach campaign to our youth, talked about tithing and how important it is. So that was a really great thing. I think Pastor Jason spoke at that, and several other people, some trustees, I think, spoke, and so it was just wonderful. Karen Andrews is a call team leader. She's been rallying the troops to make sure people come to meetings like this. And then we have Tammy and Christy, who have been taking the campaign to the youth, and they've just done a wonderful job as well. They created a little children's calendar with little handprints all over it with little prayers, and whenever they read one of those prayers, they get to put a little gold star on it. And so, as you can see, it's been well thought out and well planned, and we are just inviting all the members, young and old, to participate. So, it is my prayer, as I said, that after this meeting is concluded today, that you will have had all of your questions answered, and if not, that you know the right people to go to get those answers. So I just really thank you for your time, and I'm going to turn it over to Dan. Thanks.
Thank you. Is there really a minimum size crowd where you shouldn't clap at all? I feel like 3 people, that's enough for an ovation. Thank you, friends. We do have some practical information to share, and what I would want to invite you to do for our many brothers and sisters who aren't here and who haven't been able to come to one of the 4 gatherings where this information is presented, please think of a few of those folks that you might know. Please consider, as you look at the material on these slides, please consider what you can translate for them, what you're able to take away today and translate for them to put any of their questions or uncertainties at ease. I think you'll find that the questions that we try and address our sort of overarching questions, and we plug in information to sort of satisfy those ideas, hopefully, in your mind. To begin with, one big question for all of us has to be, how did we get here? Not only in this REACH capital stewardship program, but the state of our church. How did we get to a point where we needed some kind of capital campaign to do updates or repairs or improvements? And that's a reasonable question. The simplest answer I can think of to that question is to share a bit of wisdom, a little nugget of wisdom that I myself subscribe to often. And that is, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Now, on one hand, that's a thrifty way of living your life and trying to make sure that you don't get yourself into trouble with wasteful spending on things that might not be necessary. But on the other hand, it can sometimes be a trap, because it can lead to neglect. It can lead to withholding attention or resources from things that really do need it, that really are at the right time to be addressed. So if it ain't broke, don't fix it is not something I want to swear off altogether, but we've got to be sort of circumspect in how we use that. And I think you'll see what I mean. Now, in terms of the REACH campaign itself, how we got here is an important trail. So I hope that you'll stay with me on this. Last year, 2013, the Trustees Committee was commissioned, was asked, was ordered to do a comprehensive assessment of the condition of our church. There are several areas of our church that need attention, some more obvious than others. And the Trustees Committee, knowing this, they were asked to do a more comprehensive, stem-to-stern assessment and come up with a list of everything so that they could be prioritized and so that the greatest needs could be addressed with some kind of order. That's exactly what they did. And this comprehensive assessment was concluded at the end of June last year. Their not meeting, but series of meetings with the folks on the Finance Committee, thus Wendy's explanation of the responsibilities of those committees. Their series of meetings with those of our brothers and sisters who serve on finance yielded a prioritized list, a categorized list, wherein within each category the needs of the church were prioritized. And naturally, while trustees are experts or have not only expertise but love for our church home, they're able to identify all the things that need to be improved. The Finance Committee has a slightly different responsibility in protecting financial resources and being responsible and efficient. So those prioritized lists had to be shortened. They had to be whittled down to the most important items under each category. And that's what we'll find was done. That comprehensive assessment was prepared and brought to a called meeting of the Administrative Council on August 26th. At this conventional meeting of the Administrative Council with the committee chairs and team leaders that were listed, the presentation was given about the needs for these capital improvements. At that Administrative Council meeting, it was decided through a vote that a program should be undertaken to address all these needs. So the next step was a big step in that an announced meeting was necessary for the entire church membership. It was also an Administrative Council meeting for the purpose of making a decision on this campaign. That meeting was held September 16th, and it was held in the sanctuary. Some of you were certainly there, possibly not all of you. So I'm happy to inform you, if you weren't there, that The standard voting rules for administrative council were suspended so that every church member could vote. And after explanations were given, and after options were explained, and after the primary recommendation was defined, a vote was taken. And the result of the vote was that it was unanimously approved to proceed with this program. So that is basically the progression of this REACH campaign from its approval on September 16th to now. Now we begin this month of informing people and inviting people to get involved, and we'll make some specific recommendations for how to do that. This is the culmination of that. And again, we want to pay respect to how important this is. As a committee, we want to pay respect to how important this is for our church family. So another big question, what was approved? If you were there at the meeting in the sanctuary, the administrative council meeting, we saw several lists. We saw a couple of options. We saw a primary recommendation. What I have for you is a summary of those. But I want to make sure that you understand that as I list these items, I'm using the words that the trustees committee used for the categories. For example, this category is health and safety, and the line item is $90,000. But what I have below the category names is not an exhaustive list of the work that's going to be done within that category. It's just an example. It's just for an illustration. So some headline items from the health and safety category are signage, ceiling tiles, and bathrooms. Again, the other things on the list, which trustees found more than made the final cut, the other things on the list go far beyond that. But health and safety was at $90,000 and includes things that we're very familiar with and some that we don't really see. Here's an example. We have a variety of signage here, and right now most of it looks really good. We're all familiar with the sign in the back parking lot on Mill Street, and if you stand close to it today, you'll notice that it's got a fresh coat of paint, and it's in good shape. If you had looked at it around Christmas after last year's hot sun beat down on it, you would have noticed something different. But that sign, like all the signs, takes a degree of maintenance. Trustees has some ideas to update and improve many of our areas, including the signage. I don't know if anyone here has actually visited a bathroom here at church. I have, and I can attest to you that we have some nice bathrooms, and we have some bathrooms that certainly show their age. It's natural, just like at our homes, at our own individual homes. We sort of adapt to things. If our bathroom or our fixtures or our flooring or our paint or whatever start to get a little weathered, we sometimes think of that if it ain't broke, don't fix it theme, and we adapt to what it looks like. But our bathrooms represent something else. I'm being a little bit facetious when I say I don't know if any of you have visited the bathrooms. But it's not only us in this family that make use of our bathrooms. When we have outside programs, whether it's a wedding or funeral or one of the many ministries that brings outside people into our church, we have people outside the family using our bathroom. Everything that these folks come into contact with, whether they're just friends or whether they're prospective family members of ours, everything makes an impression. Everything sends a message. And there are some conditions in some of our bathrooms that don't send a clear message that we have the degree of love and respect for our church home that we really do. Our bathrooms need attention, not only for the sake of their cleanliness, not only for the sake of their efficiency and dependability, but also we have members in our church family here who have mobility issues, who are wheelchair bound or walker bound, and we don't have an ADA compatible bathroom. We don't have a bathroom that meets ADA code. Now, we have bathrooms that with assistance, they're able to make use of. Again, just like being at home, they adapt. But those folks shouldn't have to adapt to the degree that they do. They shouldn't have to have assistance. They should be able to go to the restroom as independently and freely as you and I do. That's also a big consideration for trustees and finance in developing this list, and it's an important thing for us to remember. Ceiling tiles are, of course, a constant battle when you have moisture problems. With the roof issue, which we'll touch on the roof in a few minutes, we have had moisture problems. We've had moisture problems due to other things like air conditioning equipment. Sadly, I learned recently that some of the ceiling tile problems were due to some of our unwelcome visitors, like bats and raccoons and rats. And some of the discoloration was caused by those visitors. Those unpleasant things can be a distraction. We love our home better than this. And those are things that are high enough on the list to make the cut and be addressed. This is a personal favorite of Pastor Jason. It's the last time he'll have to hear me say that. For those that don't recognize it, this is the youth closet right behind you. And if you can't read the little arrow there, that arrow says rat hole. We have been in an ongoing war with maybe a family of rodents, I don't know, an extended family of rodents. And trustees have done a great job. We've won most of those battles. In fact, Sunday there was a battle that was won. But as we near the end of that war, trustees has had to make sure that all the points of entry and all the little rat thoroughfares are sealed up and taken care of so that we don't make it easy for any kind of pest to come in unwelcome. That's another area of focus. The second category, and I have a total of 8 categories. This is not an infinite list. I have 8 categories. The second one is audiovisual, and the amount on that is $46,000. That's actually approximately half of the total audiovisual project. Approximately half of it has already been funded. This $46,000 is to fund stages 2 and 3. Now, stage 1 was some sound equipment that was very important. In fact, pressing. The speaker array that's in the sanctuary and the new soundboard work great. We're still, they operate at a level of sophistication that our volunteers and staff are still getting up to. But even if we had this equipment mastered, we could not realize the full benefit of having that equipment without finishing out these other stages. Stage 2 is a video system, wherein a couple of important things happen. One important thing is the replacement of the video projector in the sanctuary. That equipment, I'll show you a picture in just a moment, has been lovingly kept alive for some time by Amber and the volunteers that support Amber and the staff that supports Amber. There are certainly technologies out there that can give us more efficiency and more dependability in showing that image in the sanctuary that so many of us benefit from. Also, in the stage 2, the video section, there's a camera system wherein a couple of things happen. Whenever there's something happening at the front of the sanctuary, whether it's children's choir or anything down low, or just folks, individuals, during a special performance, this camera system could be used to capture an image of what's going on at the front of the sanctuary and show it through the projector so that everyone in the sanctuary, the grandparents who didn't get in the front row, or just our church family that can't see clearly, will be able to appreciate it on the screen and be able to see what's going on at the front of the sanctuary. Another benefit of having those cameras is that closed circuit signal, that video signal, can be run to other areas, overflow areas in the church, where people can sit under a couple of different circumstances. The most obvious one is when we have a function, including a wedding or a funeral, even a special Sunday service. If we have a function where there are too many people to fit in the seats in our sanctuary, and that's a blessing, that signal could go to an overflow area where people could be sitting comfortably, seeing and hearing what's going on a video monitor, on a TV, or a projector. That's a blessing to be able to offer. It's no coincidence that Wendy mentioned that Easter in 1952, when they, through the day's services, they welcomed over 1,000 people. And it was the first Easter that they didn't have to turn somebody away. It's no coincidence that just last year, 2013, more people came to church than we had seats for. Now, no one was turned away, of course, but people left instead of staying. And that's a sad, sad development. We need to make sure that we can accommodate everyone who wants to come to worship, as well as a special other service. Being able to do that through that system is important enough for us to address here. Finally, on the video system, in those circumstances where there might be a crying baby or maybe someone who doesn't feel too well, whatever the distraction could be in the sanctuary, that mother of a baby or that person could go to the area, the overflow area, and be able to sit in privacy or be able to sit away from all those in the sanctuary and still see and hear what's going on. So stage 3 is a very small portion of that line, and it is to provide sound equipment, small sound equipment that prevents the reverb up at the front of the sanctuary on the altar, so that performers can hear what their performance sounds like, or speakers or people at the very front can hear and not have the reverb that happens in the sanctuary now. So the only example I have is this picture of the projector that's up in the loft right now. I don't know if you can make that out, but Amber has this lovingly propped up on bricks, because naturally the angle that projector throws at is a very sensitive thing. She's got to get it just right. Amber's an artist, as Wendy said, in many ways, and she artfully adapted what our resources are to what our needs are. But we can do better. The third category is the roof. We all were aware of the aging roof on the sanctuary, and thank God we were able to get that roof done as part of this campaign already. We noticed, and I have a photo of the project underway, this $75,000 line includes replacement of the sanctuary roof and repairs to the other facility roofs, the flat roof above. We all noticed when the windows were boarded up and the sanctuary roof was being replaced. I had to verify with Jay, just because I had a hard time believing it. That was the original roof. It's a fact from 1952 that was on our sanctuary. Now that's a good roof to last this long, 62 years. But it was due, and it's no wonder that roof let some moisture in. We've got some, damage to the ceiling, some discoloration to the beams. That roof did its job. Now our new roof, that looks very nice, is going to do its job. And hopefully in 62 years it doesn't sneak up on somebody that, oh my goodness, we need a new roof. But we've done a good job in being able to go straight at that. And we're thankful not to have to worry about that roof anymore. The biggest line in our presentation is efficiency enhancements. Those enhancements, some are very visible, some are less visible, but I certainly want to make sure that you understand what this includes. At $588,000, it includes a comprehensive replacement of all the HVAC systems that need replacement and updating. Our oldest HVAC equipment is 35 years old in use right now. Now we have multiple generations. We have some that's much, much newer. But we have multiple generations, multiple technologies, multiple refrigerants. Things change in this many years, in 35 years, certainly in 62, but in 35 years things change. And most of us know that the refrigerants they use for air conditioning have changed, not only in the interest of efficiency, but also in the interest of the environment. Updating the HVAC equipment is a must. The equipment that they're having engineered, the equipment that they have planned, will not only be more efficient and dependable, but more comfortable. For the sanctuary especially, plans are to install equipment that won't be a distraction in a couple of ways. The noise level, as part of the sound study that was done for the audio-visual part, as part of the sound study, the noise level that the air handlers make in the sanctuary is a big part of the distraction in there. It's also a distraction for some people. I don't get cold too easily, but for some people, having that cold air hit them in the back of the neck while they're facing forward and trying to focus on a message, that's a problem. The new system would avoid having that strong burst of air blow down on folks and create that distraction. It would make the sanctuary more comfortable and also, as an added benefit, free up some visibility upstairs in the choir loft where more folks could sit. I don't know, most of us have probably been up in the choir loft. Those air handlers take up a lot of space. They block a lot of the view up there. We could do away with that, and that would be a good thing. In addition to the HVAC, windows are a high priority. And the windows that are planned are not only to assist in that temperature control, not only to keep the cool air in or the warm air in, but also for the sound insulation. Part of the sound study included the ambient noise that's coming in when we're trying to have a program or when we're trying to get a message. The noise from outside penetrates very easily through these windows. Many options were considered, and the option approved was to install stained glass windows in addition to our current glass, so that we have the layered energy efficiency, we have the layered sound efficiency, and we also get to enjoy artwork that represents themes from within our faith, something that can be a moving thing to share not only among us and our church family, but with visitors, with people from the community. And it's the right thing to do. In addition to the windows, we also have less visible, but we all know what insulation does. Insulation upgrades are necessary for the same reason, for energy efficiency and sound insulation, as well as lighting and plumbing. We took some pictures of some rusty plumbing here and there, but we really didn't think that we needed to underscore every single example we used. We should recognize when our church home needs attention. And these windows and this HVAC system and those other things listed on that long list, if that's only a taste of here, those need attention and they're worthy of our efforts. Item number 5 of 8, trustees called aesthetics. That includes things that we do see. A visitor with imagining his daughter getting married here, probably on his first visit only looks at the high spots. But as a family and as the people responsible for our church home, we've got to look at all the corners and make sure that we're not neglecting areas that need our attention. Paint floors and clean and seal the exterior stone on our building. And the other items in the category add up to $110,000. Examples of this kind of work and these needs are pretty easy to spot. Now, in many of our spaces, Pedro or volunteers have lovingly put paint on the walls to beautify, But when we have problems like moisture problems, when we have underlying issues in the wall, a coat of paint on top doesn't stay pretty very long, and it doesn't hide the underlying problems. Trustees will address those problems and will make things right. There are many floor examples. Here in Wesley Hall, this is a relatively new floor, and it does great work for us. But throughout our home, there are spots where you can find ugly transitions, or you can find cracked eyesores that in our homes we might adapt to, that might be workable, that might not be high on our list of priorities. The message it sends is still important to folks who are outside the family. And in addition to those, some of them constitute a hazard. We all cross this threshold from the sanctuary to the front hallway. That has certainly been addressed time and time again. There's a better way. And each of our problems in these areas, including the way the outside of our home looks, each of these areas would be addressed in this program and made better. Cleaning and sealing the stone would hopefully keep this from happening again for some time. Item number 6 was amenities, and I want to briefly distinguish between amenities and luxuries. That might be a synonym to some, but at $52,100, finance wouldn't allow luxuries. They trimmed that list down to the point that it was an efficient list of necessities. And among those are some furniture. Obviously, we can't furnish the whole sanctuary for $4,400 anymore. But some of the furniture through our church is outdated and even unsafe. Some of the furniture is ready for replacement. Dishwasher is not a very glamorous thing, but we can all take a look at the dishwasher in the kitchen there. It is a workhorse. There are easier to operate dishwashers, like those that we have in our homes. And computers. I want to make sure that no one makes the mistake of thinking that the church is getting cutting-edge information systems here, but the computers the church operates with are outdated. Now, computer technology moves a little bit faster even than air conditioning technology, and we can't hope to stay on the cutting edge, but we can provide our staff and we can provide our facilities with computer and communication equipment that is at least functional for the current time and for their current jobs. The next item is landscape, and it's a modest line at $10,000. It includes some trees, plants, and a gazebo. We're all familiar with what our landscape looks like. This is a current picture from the front. It's a good thing that we get some wear and tear. We get some community members to stand around out there at parade time, or we get some folks to stand around and visit. Our front and the other areas of the church could use some landscaping attention. And I learned during this program that gazebo is planned as part of a prayer garden in the yard behind the Mill Street house. Gazebo would be a centerpiece in that prayer garden out in that green space. It would replace the rustic carport that's out there now, and make for a more comfortable and appealing place for Sunday school groups or small groups or anyone to go and sit and visit or pray as part of a prayer garden. I got that right. Fits in with the prayer garden thing. And finally, pavement improvements. This is a short list, again, a modest amount in respect to the whole project, but at $4,500 to reseal the parking lot, to reseal the asphalt in the central courtyard, and to add speed bumps. I wasn't really conscious of the fact that our big side parking lot serves as a cut-through to lots of folks between San Antonio and Mill Street. I've got to try it sometime. I bet I could get up a good head of steam in that space, but from what I understand, Wendy speeds through there all the time. And we need to slow her down with some speed bumps for Jeff's sake. Thinking of you, Jeff. You don't have to look long in the parking lot. This is in the back parking lot right out here. Asphalt needs some attention. This is the courtyard, of course. The courtyard's a very visible spot in the middle of our church. And when we have different functions, it gets used. So it's important to take care of that asphalt. This is the total list. This is each of the categories, and that is how they add up. $975,600. As Wendy said, about $1 million. It's important for us not to be shaken up by that figure, and the natural reaction is, wow, what should I do? This is a list of needs. Here's a big amount of money. What should I do? What we want, and what I invite you to do right now, I ask you to consider what you could take away and share with our many brothers and sisters who aren't seeing this. What I invite you to do is really focus on these next few slides, because I'm afraid that some of our brothers and sisters have chosen not to come because they think they know all they need to know, because they have their mind made up. And what we want you to do is not make your mind up yet. You're not ready to make your mind up. Even with information, there are other things we want you to focus on rather than jumping to a conclusion, rather than concluding anything yet. First, we want you to pray. All of us. We should pray, whether that's individually, pray together for guidance in your small groups, certainly as a family unit. Pray and make a decision about what's right for you. After you've given time in prayer, then we have time. Take the time to listen. As Pastor Jason said when he opened us in prayer, we're praying to be able to discern God's will. We're praying to be able to discern what sacrificial giving should mean to us. Because for each of us, it's different. It's an individual. It's a personal thing. Take the time to listen and try and determine that. And once you have that answer clearly, don't be afraid to act. It is a big number. It is a huge amount, and when you look at it, in totality, it's a huge amount of work in every corner of our church. But it's doable, just like those folks did in 1952, from Good Friday to Saturday night. Nothing God puts before us is going to be something that we cannot do, and we can do this. So, pray, listen, and act. If you share anything at all, if you share nothing else with your neighbors and brothers and sisters that aren't here or haven't been to one, share that, not to jump to conclusions. If you need more information, naturally we want to make sure that everyone gets their packet. I'm suspecting that most of us have picked up our packets. If there's a friend or a neighbor that you know that you could get a packet to, if you're curious about whether they've gotten theirs or you know they haven't gotten theirs, please pick up their packet and take it to them personally. Give it to them to make sure that they understand what that information is. The remaining packets will be mailed out. If there's any information that you don't have after studying that packet and hearing this, we as a committee want you to know that you can ask us, and we will either help you decipher the information you need, or we'll get you directed, as Wendy said, to the people who have the information you need when you're doing that praying and listening and acting. But it is time for us to do those things. And with all respect for your time tonight, I sure appreciate you coming. This is all we have to share, and I hope it did answer some questions for you. Thank you. Yes, snacks. Somebody get in front of me.
I did run first. I kept looking to get stuff, so. It is secured. The first week it wasn't secured. That was Keith was like, I don't know if we want to go with the sanctuary. I don't know if people are looking at their phones and stuff. Which was a good thing. I could see. I never thought about that. I was never a pastor either, right? Yeah. People not distracted by it. It looks like, no, and I didn't. I hired a guy to do it.